Hey guys, Victor here, and today we're going to be having another discussion video with today's topic being how to properly prepare for those big tournaments that your card game is hosting. And even though this is primarily a Yu-Gi-Oh based channel, that's perfectly fine because there's still a lot of tips and tricks that I'm going to be sharing with you that you can take to any other card game's massive tournaments. It doesn't matter if it's a Pokemon Regionals or an International Challenge or a Treasure Cup for One Piece or, Spring Fest for Weiss Schwartz. It literally does not matter because a lot of these skill sets do apply to other card games. So, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the video. So the first topic we're going to be talking about is the supply aspect of the trading card game that, is pretty important because it actually allows you to function and actually play the card game. And the first thing you're going to be needing is a playmat. So playmats come in all different shapes and sizes. They come in 1 player, they come in 2 player, they come in rubber, they come in cloth. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide what kind of playmat that you want. Like you can get like just a regular cheap $10 rubber solid color playmat from Ultra Pro, or if you really want to flex on your opponents, you could also go for like the World's Magic the Gathering Spellgrounds, for example, right? Those are extremely expensive cloth mats that go for the thousands very easily, especially when they're in good condition. It really does not matter what cloth or what kind of mat you have. The only thing is, do not be one of those guys that comes with like their, not safe for work NSFW cringe hentai playmats or whatever, because a lot of the times in a lot of scenes you're going to be looked down upon, rightfully so, and if it's like grotesque enough, you will be kicked and potentially banned from the tournament. So just don't be one of those cringe kids and bring with something like that. Just have, something classy that you can show off to like your mom and you won't be embarrassed. And in addition to your playmat, you're of course going to be needing sleeves. So I'm a big fan of Dragon Shields just because they're really durable and they pretty much just last forever, if I'm being honest. And they come in lots and lots of different colors, but it doesn't really matter what choice of sleeve you make. Anything is pretty much fine. If I'm not using Dragon Shields, I'm honestly a really big fan of just like regular Ultra Pros because they're really cheap, and as long as you're not being like a gorilla with them, they should last fairly well. However, before every event, you have to make sure that you actually get a new pair of sleeves because, sleeves get dirty, they get damaged. It's just, you want to minimize the chances of you like getting in trouble with like the actual, tournament organizers, right? Because sometimes having damaged sleeves or just dirty sleeves can be a sign of like marking, or even if it's like not intentional. So if you're going to enter a tournament, make sure that your deck is covered in new sleeves, and try to have like an extra pack because, like I said, sleeves do get damaged pretty easily depending on the brand. So it's always nice to have like a backup in case something like that does happen. And then after that, we're going to be talking about pen and paper. So this is especially important when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game because the main method that you're going to be able to play the game is by taking life points, and pen and paper is fantastic for that because compared to everything else, such as like calculators, your phones, a lot of the times they're not going to allow you to actually use like those types of technologies because you can be cheating or getting advice, whatever. But with pen and paper, it's really simple. You just keep track of your life points. Once it goes down to 0, you just start again, write another one, blah, 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 really easy. And then not to mention, pen and paper is literally the best method and the most trusted method. So if your opponent is using like a calculator to keep track of life points, which they can do, but you're using pen and paper, most of the time the judges will side with what you have written down compared to what's in the calculator, just because it's, I guess, technically the more official of like all the different mediums that you can use. So yeah, if you can, especially like at a high level event, you need to be using pen and paper if you want like the best advantage, I guess, possible. And then to go with your pen and paper, you have dice. Dice are pretty much fundamental to any card game. It doesn't matter what you're playing. If it's for Pokemon, you use dice to determine heads or tails, even typically being heads and tails being odds. It's great for helping you put damage counters on your Pokemon, just things of that nature. But most of the time, especially in Yu-Gi-Oh, you just roll your dice to determine who goes first. You can go low roll, high roll, whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you want to make sure that you always have a set of dice because you never know when it's going to be needed. Next, let's talk about, I guess, snacks. So I don't have like a visual representation for this, but just take my word for it. When it comes to supplies, snacks are pretty important just because the tournaments are going to be extremely long. It's always going to be like an all-day type of thing. There's not always going to be a guaranteed lunch break. So just having like a snack, some bottles of water to help keep you hydrated are very important in making sure that you last the entire day. Because let's face it, getting tired, running low on blood sugar, things like that, you just always want to avoid it as much as possible. And then for the final supply that you should be bringing is your deck box. So deck boxes, great. They help carry the most important aspect of going to a trading card tournament, being your deck, because if you don't have a deck, you're not going to be able to play. Plus, in addition to that, like, it does help you keep your cards a lot more safely instead of, just wrapping them in like a bubble or a rubber band or some kind of, like, I don't know, plastic bag or whatever, and just tossing them in your bag. Keeping them in a deck box, it helps ensure that their conditions will actually stay well. And with that, that's it for the supply side. So I'll catch you guys in the next topic, which would be how to actually enter the tournament. So in addition to all the supplies, you're going to be needing a couple of extra things to actually, enter a tournament. And first off, we're going to be talking about a deck list. So a deck list is nothing new. It's pretty much a staple in every single card game. The only difference between now and like back then is that some events require you to have a physical deck list to fill out and then turn it in person, while other events, sometimes just allow you to fill out a deck list online and then submit it that way. Well, I guess one of the biggest examples would be Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! YCSs, right? For Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals, you have to go in person, which means you must have a physical copy of your deck list, as opposed to the YCSs, which are pretty much all online nowadays. So you just submit your deck list online. And it's like that for a lot of card games. I'm not entirely certain because it's been a while since I've actually entered anything else besides a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament that requires a deck list, so don't quote me on that. Especially post-COVID times where a lot of aspects of trading card games have changed dramatically. But so make sure you actually read the like the FAQ to determine if you actually need to like bring a physical one or if you can submit something online. And then for Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, in addition to the deck list, you're going to need a registration slip. So this just gives you gives them a little bit more information about yourself and like ways to contact you, things of that nature, whatever. But you need to have a run registration slip along with your deck list in order to actually play the game. And on top of that, you're going to need a COSI ID. So every single card game has one of these, whether it's Play Pokemon, your Bandai TCG Plus app. They all give you official like IDs that you can play with. And mine's pretty old. I'm not going to lie, because I've been playing this game for a long time. And basically, you just need this, or if you don't have like a physical card, that's perfectly fine too, because they give you digital IDs as well. So you just make an account online, then you sign up for an ID, and you can use that to enter all those card game tournaments. But you need to for sure have at least something, whether it's physical or like digital. And if you do decide to get a digital one, make sure you have it written down somewhere, like whether it's like a piece of paper just randomly in your house or saving it in your notes on your phone. Just, you have to have it somewhere in order to actually be able to play the game. And outside of those things, I guess the only other thing that you would need to enter a tournament would be money. Right. Yes. Money. So it doesn't matter if it's, entering online or in person, you need to be able to pay the entry fee in a lot of situations to actually be able to enter these tournaments. So for Yu-Gi-Oh!, like I said, in regionals, you have to pay in person, but you don't have to pay with cash. You can pay with a card as well. But it's always important to try and keep cash with you at all times, just because you never know when it's going to be useful, right? Sometimes the card machines or, the card readers break down, so they only take physical cash. Sometimes you're just in a position where you're going to like a restaurant, right, and they only take cash as well. I know those are pretty far and few in between, but you never know when the situation is going to arise. So you should always have like around maybe 20 to 80 bucks on you in person, just in case. So, because you just don't want to be caught unprepared, And with that, that's pretty much all you really need when you want to enter a tournament. But now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about how exactly should you be preparing for the tournament itself. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. So for the final topic, I wanted to talk about how to actually prepare for the tournament, because there's a lot of different ways that people prepare for a tournament, in order to actually try and get the best results. And I've tried to narrow it down to 3, but as always, these are just my opinions. You never really have to go with it because, sometimes people just value other aspects of it. But the first one that I want to talk about is playtesting. So this should be a no-brainer. If you want to do well at a tournament, you need to be playtesting your deck, and you need to be playtesting against other decks in order to get like a general scope of how the metagame is actually performed. And there's lots of different ways you can do this, I guess. But the most important thing is to actually pick a deck, right? So how do you go about picking a deck? Well, in the wise words of Sanford Kelly, pick a top tier. I know, it seems simple enough, right? Pick a top tier in order to get like the best results possible. And he's basically right. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that, because there's a lot of different things and factors that go into deciding what type of decks there are. or that you should be playing, because let's face it, there's almost never going to be one single deck that's better than everything else. There's typically a couple decks that you can choose from. So from those couple of decks that you have presented to you, you pick the one that you like the most, or that meshes most with your playstyle, right? Or the one that you feel the most comfortable with. Whether you like super aggro decks, you like control decks, you like super heavy combo decks to flex your brain power, or you need something a lot more simple, because let's face it, not every player can play those super complex decks. No matter what reason you choose or you have for choosing a deck, as long as it's good and they compete, it's fine. So once you've chosen your deck, you need to play test with it continuously. You pretty much need to be able to play the ins and outs of your deck as if, like, you know, it needs to be as natural for you as if breathing, or you need to be able to play the deck in your sleep, essentially. Like, you need to be that familiar with the deck in order to actually, you know, do well with it, because you don't want to be constantly misplaying or just reading effects wrong, things of that nature, because you'll probably get hit with penalties. Your opponent's going to become more irritated. You're going to tilt yourself. And it just gets really bad really fast if you don't know the ins and outs of your deck. And that's it when it comes to playtesting, but there's other factors too. So let's talk about having like a healthy mentality, I guess, when you actually, you know, are playing in the tournament itself. So when you're winning, you're like on a hot streak, you win 5 in a row, you're feeling on top of the world, and you finally get to round 6 and you lose. Damn. So you lose the game, you're feeling frustrated, you think, man, what could I have done better? Should I have, like, did I misplay, blah blah blah, whatever. That's fine, you know, it's okay to feel frustrated, and it's okay to lose. It's not the end of the world, even though you should want to win, because, you know, this is a competitive setting. Winning is probably the most important thing. Anyone that says winning is not important is a liar, or just doesn't belong at these types of tournaments. I know, elitist, right? Absolutely. But those guys shouldn't really be competing at these unless they're okay with losing all their money on travel, you know, expenses, hotel, things of that nature. They should just stick to locals and playing with their friends casually. But what you don't want to do with losing is carry that mentality into the next round. Pretty much the moment you lose, get up, walk around, vent a little bit, whatever. Just make sure you lose that mentality properly before the next round starts, so that you can start up new and, you know, hopefully win out the rest of the tournament. I know it's easier said than done, and I'm very guilty of not being able to do this, because let's face it, sometimes you just get really salty and nothing can break you out of the funk. You just have to try your best, and hopefully it's good enough for the next round. And for the final aspect of preparing for a tournament, this is something that I personally like to do, but not everyone else does. And that's relax and enjoy the day before the tournament. So especially if you're traveling like really far away to like another city or another state or even another country, because those do happen, you should, you know, try to enjoy at least a day or two before, see the sights, you know, hang out with your friends, do something that you've never done before, treat yourself to very nice meals. There's so many cool things that you can do in these new cities besides, you know, just playing the card game. And then once you're done with your day, you finish it with a good night's sleep, because playing tired compared to playing fully refreshed after a nice 8 hours of sleep, the difference is literally night and day. You will be performing better 99% of the time. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to be the person that's playtesting until 6 a.m. because the fact of the matter is you're causing yourself unnecessary stress by being extremely tired and just, you know, trying to last minute cram. And let's face it, if you're not prepared for the tournament at that point, you're not going to be prepared after another couple hours of testing. All you're going to be doing is making the experience for yourself even worse. And with that, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If you have like any experience that you want to share, you know, of how you prepare for a tournament, let me know down below. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.